Wow. What's going on, DFS Army? Craig Bennett, aka Cash Cake, here with DFS Army, and we're going to talk about this 8-game slate. And boy, did it get turned on its head about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago, trying to still figure out the minutes. Looks like they got 9 bodies at Brooklyn, man. Harden coming into town. Oh, what a dumpster fire this is going to be. Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving, if he does want to play basketball again. But what's up, man? How's everybody doing today? We're just going to kind of go through this thing. And I'm running ownership projections in the background here on a different monitor, so I will drop them as they come in. So we can kind of talk about the slate, and then once it drops in, we'll have a better feel of things for ownership. But for now, man, we'll just talk a little bit of how lineup construction completely changed. This is what I'm talking about. Early in the morning, I'll see people like asking lineup questions and what should I do? And I'm building my lineup. Don't build your lineup so early, man. This is exactly why in NBA. We don't know what happened with news. Things shouldn't come up so early. Things like this are going to happen. So things are going to change a ton in the NBA, and something like this with this massive trade, shipping LeVert out tonight. Like I said, there's 9 bodies for Brooklyn, and this is all I care about today. Is like we can talk about the trade another time, but let's just figure out this game, this slate, and we'll start with FanDuel, but we'll talk FanDuel and DraftKings. If you guys got any questions, just drop them in here. Jay Killer says strip clubs in Brooklyn gonna be lit with Harden in town. He likes the strip clubs, man. So it, man. They business is popping in Brooklyn now. The strip clubs, So yeah, let's again. We'll start over here on FanDuel and the center position. Again, I'll be coming in here and updating everything once I get off live stream here. It's only 5:00, 2 hours before lock, so I'll have plenty of time. Yeah, and all's ownership will go way down. The Brooklyn's going to take it, Kanger. So again, it should pop in here in a little bit, but. Over here on FanDuel, though, for me, this is a very simple one. They only really have 2 bigs tonight for Brooklyn, with Allen actually getting shipped out and going to Cleveland. Like, what are they stacking bigs in Cleveland? I don't understand that at all. But they really only have Jeff Green and DeAndre Jordan here. So with that being the case, DeAndre Jordan's only 3,800. This to me, just lock him in. I would just, old Lob City there, old Slim Reaper going to throw him the ball. He should rebound a ton. I ain't worried about it. He should see 28 to 30 minutes, and DeAndre Jordan 3,800. I just think this is a play we just lock him in. On DraftKings as well. We'll get there. I think he's 3,100 on DraftKings. He's cheap. But over here on FanDuel, we're just going to lock him in and move on in cash games and tournaments. I'm not going to get too crazy here and think about anything different. And that goes with Kevin Durant. If you haven't watched my prop bet video, man, and you got on those early, I love those prop bets even more with Durant now that we got this news, because this dude's going to be shooting the lights out. And I ain't worried about a blowout with freaking the Knicks. Durant can carry this team. And again, Chioza, there's a lot of plays we can go. Joe Harris is going to be shooting a ton. Love some Joe Harris. You're going to have a lot of Brooklyn guys here. Bruce Brown, I'm a little nervous on, maybe on DraftKings, but I'd rather play Chioza than Bruce Brown. But again, let's sit over here still on FanDuel. Again, let's move to the small forward position. And Kevin Durant, again, is going to be the guy I'm looking at to just lock in here in cash games. And I would probably pair him up with Josh Hart or Joe Harris, but I love Joe Harris. He's just going to shoot probably 20 times. He's going to be the second scorer on this team behind Durant. I mean, we could see another 40 or 50 bomb like we did a couple games ago in a similar situation. FM Fan says, yeah, Miami core 3 or 4 the other day, Brooklyn 3 or 4. Yeah, man, when you have teams that only have 8 or 9 guys, and you can pinpoint a couple guys that are just going to score, it's really hard to just ignore it. I mean, if the game stays close, which it should, Durant's going to be shooting a ton, man. Like that points, rebounds, assist. I hope you got on that early, because, you could probably bump that up another 10, because that dude's going to be shooting and doing everything he can. So, again, Durant, Joe Harris, Josh Hart. We could talk about Ingram a little bit as well if you think maybe it blows out and you want to go to Ingram with no Zion. but I'm still going to be heavy on these Brooklyn guys. Freeman says, Harris points 15.5 over. Yes, smash that, man. I would smash 15.5 over. I think he can go more for like 25, 23 to 25. I love that, Freeman. So jump on that. Yeah, and Julius Randle, love running it back. Again, they're going to be shorthanded in the front court for Brooklyn tonight. So Randle should be able to feast here. So I love running Randle back in almost everything. So we're going to have the value. So say we didn't hear, we lock in Joe Harris and Durant. That's 3 Brooklyn guys off the top. I'm going to come in here. Again, we don't need this Isaiah Roby, especially if he's going up against Anthony Davis, James Johnson. These were value that we were looking at earlier. I think they're playable, but they're not guys I'm just loving. If AD's out, yeah, Roby, Johnson, don't mind that. But we're going to have the salary to play a Julius Randle. So if I lock him in, I'm just going to hit optimize real quick, just with the 4 locks that we did to kind of feel out what's in here. And it throws AD in this lineup. It's got Lillard. It's got Bruce Brown, of course, in here. Like I talked about him at min price, 3,500. I think I'd rather go Chiozza. So if we come up here, let's go to point guard. Let's look at the value that we have. Chiozza's 3,500 here. 17, I'll probably bump that up here once I get off. He's definitely going to be the guy that I want a little bit more of. Bruce Brown, there's no problem with it, but Chiozza, even if it got out of control, he's going to play a ton of minutes. I just really like that upside. So that's a play. Let me see is lock him in. That'd be 4 Brooklyn guys. I think you can play 3 or 4 in cash easily. Again, I'm not scared at any of this chalk. Bruce Brown makes me the most nervous out of all of it, but looking at if we throw Chiozza in there and see what it spits out. And if I've locked in Randle, those 4 Brooklyn Nets, it's trying to throw AD at us and Lillard. I think this is a spot in cash. I would probably go up to Luka. No problem playing Lillard, but you're going to have the money to do it. And then at that shooting guard position, I don't want Edwards or Hield. So we can look at, we'll have the money to figure out what we want to do. Alexander Walker's only in play if Bledsoe is out for me on FanDuel, and we might not know that. Shooting guard is kind of a spot where, since we have the money to pay up, I think I would float in here a McCollum because we still have some value down there at the power forward position. So I really here on FanDuel, I think this is a position where I'm going to pay up one at the shooting guard position. It's just there's so much value on Brooklyn. I can cash you're running 4 of these guys. And again, if I had to rank them, how I would do this, it definitely would be, Kevin Durant, Jordan, Harris. And again, for me, it's Chiozza, but I think Bruce Brown's going to get a lot of ownership here as well. Let me refresh this real quick. I just dropped it in. Let me see if it's dropped in yet. It might take a second to drop. I just dropped it in. So, usually in about 2 minutes, it'll pull down. But that's how I'm kind of seeing lineup construction on FanDuel. Again, 3 to 4 Brooklyn Nets you're going to want in your lineup. And then Randall's probably my next spend up after that, just to go back with them. He should just do whatever he wants to get that team in the front court. I know they're getting a couple of bodies back, but I still think Randall's just the usage just dominates on that team. And then again at shooting guard, I would look at playing yourself a McCollum in that hammer game. He's been really, really good here. Paul George, I don't mind looking at him either. So you can play either one of them, or maybe you want to pay up both spots and then pay down. So if we lock in just CJ McCollum here and see what it spits out. Again, we're getting Bledsoe, James Johnson. I don't mind this lineup right here if you wanted to run this thing. I know it has Lillard and McCollum here. So maybe you want to say, okay, I don't want to do that. And I'll come up to, maybe I want to put Paul George here and Lillard. Something like that would be very interesting in cash. And I think very viable, especially if Bledsoe plays. That usage is going to go up because that, it's basically going to be Ingram. And maybe you don't like Joe Harris. Maybe you want to go Ingram and Durant and then pay down at point guard position. There's lots of ways to go, but I think on FanDuel, you're going to want to pay 3 or 4 of these guys. So don't get too crazy. Let's just slide over here to DraftKings and talk about it because, again, you can kind of play however you want over here on DraftKings, with the multi-position eligibility. So, again, this ownership just dropped in here. If we look at Durant, he's almost 50%. If this game stays close, it's just going to be one of those spots where I'm just going to load up on him. Look at the value, almost 10x we got for DeAndre Jordan at 35 points. That might be a little high. I think I'll drop that down a little bit there. I don't think we need 35 fantasy points out of him, but it's very, very much in the realm of possibility with how short they are. So, I got these guys. Let me clear this all out from what I was messing with earlier. I think what I'm going to start with here on DraftKings is I'm definitely going to start with, in cash games, I'm definitely starting with Durant, Jordan. Again, we got Bruce Brown up here at 3,300. Like I said, he makes me more nervous than Chiozza, especially. So if I'm going to throw him on, he's 3K. I'm going to adjust that projection a little bit here. That's a little too low for him. I just like Chiozza a little bit better, especially coming off the bench in that second unit a little bit. He might be able to do a little bit of scoring, and we saw it in the bubble that he can do some things. So we'll bump him up a little bit. And then say we want Joe Harris. I mean, we're going to get a lot of chalk, but we'll just throw these guys in and kind of see what the DS spits out at us, just throwing those guys in. If you got any questions, man, drop them in here. If you want to talk this Brooklyn or strategy, what you plan on doing, we got those go. Those are the 4 Brooklyn guys that throw in here, and it's still giving us some value here with Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Again, that to me is only viable. You can play him in tournaments regardless if Bledsoe plays, but he's like extremely good cash play if Bledsoe is out at 3,100. But I'd rather go these Brooklyn guys. Like, I'd rather go Chiozza over Alexander Walker right now, not knowing about the Bledsoe news. Inval says, are the Knicks in play? Feels like they are the move. Yeah, like I said, Randall's my favorite Knicks play. I think you can play other guys. I think, it brings into play Peyton. You can look at him. You can look at RJ Barrett. You could stack this game up if you wanted to, because we have the value on one side of it. So Swaggy J, love these videos. Appreciate it, man. Glad to have you a part of the team. Thanks for the follow, man. But I think, Randall's my next guy in after I'm going Durant. Lillard, 9,500. I have no problem going there. I think, it's definitely a stars and scrubs kind of build here. I don't think you're going to be building lineups where they're, more spread out. We talked about earlier, before we had all this news, about Nurkic, right? So I don't think we have any news on Nurkic. No, we won't, because it's a late game. That's something, if you're building a few lineups by hand, save it, because if Nurkic is out, Cantor, man, just is in a smash spot. Like, I love Cantor if Nurkic is out, and I love running it back with Holmes. So the problem is, if you're throwing Jordan in there, I want to save that utility spot for one of at least Holmes or Cantor. Holmes is probable, so I'll slide him in regardless, and I think he's in a good spot regardless. But I might slide that and throw a little bit to Cantor in one if we do get that. But if you see right here, with the value that we have, you can easily fit in 3 9K guys. And again, you might be able to throw in a Durant and Randall are my favorite here. But for this other guard position, you might go up to Luka. Yes, Porzingis is back. He's probably going to be on a soft limit, maybe 26, 28 minutes. So he's a full fade at like 8K. But that doesn't mean Luka can still do a lot of damage. So not saying you have to get up to him. I kind of like, this build right here where you're looking at it. But again, Alexander Walker, opens that up, and maybe we don't want to get there if Bledsoe's around. Tony PR says, sorry, just got here in DK. What about the late swap to Cantor? How will you approach this? Like I said, you need to leave a couple spots open. So if I have Lillard and Holmes, or if I just have Holmes and I want to wait and see if Cantor's there. But the thing is, if Cantor's playing, man, I wish I had both Holmes and Cantor, but we have Jordan. That's just such great value at 3,400. It's going to be tough there. No, Luka's not in a bad spot, Pirates TV. It's just that usage is not going to be as high with Porzingis back. He's going to be trying to get his stroke going. And so the only issue with running there's nothing wrong with Luka at all. It's just Porzingis is back. So, if we come in here at the point guard position, Let's lock him in and see what it gives us. Again, there's no problem with him at all. That's the only thing it is. Going back here, Jay Killa says, should we force late hammers tonight since early game's going to be chalk and we can play ABC? I don't want to play Giannis tonight, man. I'd rather play Luka than Giannis. You know, I mean, Giannis is fine if you think that game stays close. I think you can play any stud you want, but I probably won't go that route. So in here, if I locked in Luka, it's taking me off of the Durant, and I don't like that. I like the 3K bill better, but it gives you Ingram at that small forward position, you know, and it throws Isaiah Roby in here. And I like Roby if there's no AD. So there's a lot of news that we're still waiting on late. And there's going to be a lot of Brooklyn chalk. So maybe you don't want to go crazy on the Brooklyn chalk. And you're like, okay, well, pick your spots with them. So maybe you want to Chioza, Jordan, and Durant, and you don't want to go Joe Harris. Or maybe you think, the Knicks, really take it to him, and then you want to get off Durant for some reason because you don't think he's going to get there because the Knicks are going to take it to him. Then maybe you get off Durant and just play the cheaper guys. And Chioza to me is in play everywhere. Like I really like Chioza here, and same with Jordan. I think it's just Jeff Green is in play as well, but Jordan should get a double here pretty easily. Tony PR, I feel a balanced lineup is a good strategy and can late swap late easier. I disagree with that. I think when you have a team that only has 9 bodies, they are going to play minutes. We saw this last night with Miami, right? And of course, that game stayed close and it went to OT, but they hit value before they went to OT. In certain positions, like if they're all spend ups and there's 9 bodies, I agree. It's not the same. But when you have 3 or 4 guys at men's salary, kind of like we did with Miami last night, I think you're getting away from that, and it's going to be a tough situation to say, no, I don't want to go that route. I want to go more balanced. I don't think that's going to win because the stars and scrubs, we saw it last night. We saw scores well over 400 on DraftKings, and we're probably going to see something tonight like that because when you get guys at 3K that are putting up 10 to 12x, it's going to happen. Now, do I think they're going to put up heat numbers? I don't think that's going to happen. But at the same time, if Chioza gets you 26, 27, and not gets, the 35, 36 that we had yesterday from the 3K guard, the scores might be that high, but still, you're going to have him to smash here. So that's what I would look about. Royal says, what about LeBron? Yeah, I'd love LeBron if AD is out. Thanks for the sub, Tony PR. I appreciate you, brother. So that's where if, that news, like if they're both in play, if we have AD and LeBron both play, then I don't want either one of them. I appreciate the sub. Thanks, Crooks. So I think, again, this is so similar to last night's slate where the early game with Miami, it was like you had to have those guys and then a few pieces later. So I'm not saying play 5 or 6 Brooklyn Nets. I think I would want a minimum of 3 Brooklyn Nets into every lineup. And I'm okay running up to 5 if, I'm fine with that. But I think I would set a rule where, I just want at least 3. And in cash, I probably want 4, honestly. Durant, like I said, these are probably my favorite 4 right here. Bruce Brown's going to be extremely popular, so maybe you want to use him in cash and Chioza more of in tournaments. But I like that a little bit more. Thanks, man. Appreciate the sub. Hillbilly Gamer, man. Love that tag. Pirates TV says, who would you play on the opposite side of the scrubs last night if you didn't have the other side, you didn't win? Yeah, so Embiid just went off. So for me, if I'm prioritizing on the Knicks side, I'm going Randall. And then the second one I'm going to look at is Peyton and then RJ Barrett. I think those are the 3 that I would look at. You don't need the cheap guys on the Knicks side. You're looking at it more. You're looking at more of the expensive guys because we have so much value on the other side. So we saw it last night, right? Miami, we had 5 or 6 guys do really well, and you need Joel Embiid, and then freaking Danny Green, man. Danny Green wanted to hit a record 3-pointers and get in the optimal lineup with Embiid. They both put up 60 and 100 points. I mean 60 and 80. They put up 140 points between the two, so you needed two. So I think Randall is for sure for me. If you watched, he's part of my today that I put in for the the prop bet video. I was on Randall, and so he's going to be in there for sure. And maybe you want to pick one more. Maybe you want to run an Elf Payton, or maybe you want to run an RJ Barrett. No problem with that. And then kind of like pick your other spots later. But there's going to be at least a couple of these Brooklyn guys in the optimal lineup. It might not be Durant if it gets out of control or whatever, but it's really hard. The usage rate for Durant today is going to be in the 40% by far. I mean, he's going to be doing everything. Yeah, Danny Green destroyed the slate. At 5% owned, he became Spurs Green. Yeah, man, that's, typical. A guy fails like that and then smashes. It happens, man. I'll be like, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I think there's a ton of ways to go. Like I said, Ingram's usage rate is going to be massive without Zion and without Lonzo Ball. And if Bledsoe sits, Ingram's going to have a huge. So maybe you want to run Ingram. So let's get off Luka. And that's why I don't think you need to go Luka with Porzingis there. I think you can more look at, if we want to have the spend ups and just look at the guys that we have here and say we got Durant, maybe I want a Julius Randle, and maybe I want an Ingram, right? And see if that'll, if even work. I don't even know if it'll spit something out. Well, I guess it will with the cheap guys that we have. And now you're looking at, guys like, we got 4 Brooklyn guys in here, and then we have 3 guys, because Ingram could put up 60 here, right? Randall could put up a 60 burger here. Durant 60. I mean, you could have this, and then it's like, do I look at George Hill and Holmes? Well, I don't love George Hill here, but you can mess around and say, okay, well, I want to switch to Cantor. Maybe what else can that give me at guard in that late game, right? Maybe it's a Buddy Hield and a Cantor or something like that in a lineup like this. And so kind of put that into your mindset of what you want. But I think I like the build where I'm sitting on like 4 of these Brooklyn guys, bringing it back with Randall, and then a few of the 8K guys like an Ingram. I don't think you have to go up to a Luka. I think you can, because if we get Bledsoe out and there's an Alexander Walker, or if AD's out and we can get a Roby, it would be a way better play because you don't have to go up against that defense. We just have so many 3K guys. There's no reason to go mid-range here. My favorite player, Renee Villa says, my favorite player is definitely not Danny Green. Definitely not Danny Green. Did I already talk about FanDuel? I did, Pirates TV. I talked about FanDuel. Again, very similar build. I want 4 Brooklyn guys in my cash lineup. Very similar build. The thing with FanDuel is just that shooting guard position, what you're going to do. I think one of them is going to be a spend up, but again, you're waiting on that news with the Pelicans. Are you going to play Bledsoe there with him, or are you going to play Alexander Walker? I think that's the thing you're going to pair with CJ McCollum, because we have plenty of value. And I don't think I want to play Bruce Brown in my shooting guard position. I think if he's going to be chalk, I get extremely nervous there. So thoughts on TLC from Brooklyn? Again, TLC is one of those plays where he's more of a tournament play for me. He's a shooter, if it gets out of control and he plays, he's going to shoot the hell out of the ball, but that's all he does. He shoots threes. So if he gets hot, no problem. TLC is going to do well. The minutes are going to be there for him because they only have 9 bodies. But if he plays 25 minutes, he can get there. But he's, I still would rather have a Chioza playing a little less minutes. But again, you can definitely get there, man. SB says, it's my birthday, man. Well, happy birthday, brother. Trying to get a tourney win. Who's a good lock for tonight for GPPs? Well, for me, it's DeAndre Jordan and Kevin Durant. If I'm going to lock 2 guys in, it's those guys. If I'm throwing a third expensive on the other side, it's Randall. But if I'm locking 2 guys in, those are the 2 guys that I'm locking in. I'm going to show you a few things. If you're not a part of DFS Army, head on over there, dfsarmy.com. Use promo code CashKig. Save yourself 10% off. A couple things we can look at here. The chalkboard. Let me update this thing. Hit a little refresh. As we drop ownership projections in, you'll see a little bit here as the ownership will update, and you can kind of see where the chalk is going to be at on some of these guys. So like on center at FanDuel, DeAndre Jordan's now at 33%. These are just quick tools that we build at DFS Army so you can kind of see and kind of see what's going on, and just, get a feel of where the chalk's going to be. Randall's still up there. Again, DeAndre Jordan, 33%. I'm just going to hit the lock button on him. It's got Bruce Brown at 20% over here on FanDuel. Not a big fan of that. Durant, 40%. Joe Harris at 20%. Hart, 20%. I think those are the four guys I'm looking at. If we come over here to the pivot tool, another great tool for DFS Army members, and we're actually upgrading this thing. Wegner and I have been working on some things in the background. You'll absolutely love this monster that we're working on. They'll have a little bit more user input that you can do awesome things. And again, you're only going to get this over at DFS Army, so head on over. But this thing will give you the chalk, say Kevin Durant here, and some pivots off of it. DeAndre Jordan chalk, some pivots off of it. So if you're, just getting off work, with the family, don't have a lot of time trying to set that single entry 3 max lineup, it's real easy to do with the tools that we have. Again, another thing that we're going to be dropping here. I know it doesn't show up real well on the screen how it's set up because I'm trying to show more of the lineup building, but just a quick thing. Brought back the sim model. It's better than ever. This thing runs constantly, 4,000 simulations, and it'll pop out, the value consistency that they're going to hit on the minutes that they have. So as I update the minutes in the domination station in the model, it automatically pushes these minutes to the sim model, and then it'll run its own simulation and figure out what's going to happen. So all these things are awesome tools. Again, over at DFS Army to head up, and we're just constantly adding things that we have it. The research station is going to be adding a few more things, and we'll do some tutorials on these if you're a member of DFS Army on how to use these once we get a few more upgrades to them. So look for these in the next couple weeks. It's going to be awesome. Head back over to the domination station. Let's see what questions that we have. So here are your 4 nets without Durant. Without Durant, it's Chioza, it's Harris, it's Jordan, and then probably my 4th one, I'm probably looking at, a Bruce Brown type, which is tough to swallow, or maybe a TLC. Those guys are more, Bruce Brown chalk's scary, but he's going to see heavy minutes. So, I don't mind him if you're doing it. But TLC, if he gets it going, he's just a 3-point shooter, though. He's not going to drive the rim like Harris. Harris is a shooter, but he'll actually rebound and do a few other things. TLC is just going to stroke it. And so if they get out of control, and he can get there, but he's more of a tournament play for me. Would you leave exposure to 100%? Yeah, on a night like tonight, I said I'm hitting the lock button on DeAndre Jordan, man, on both sites. I'm going to have 100% DeAndre Jordan. I'm not getting off that. I'm going to be extremely heavy on that. So, there's certain guys like Durant. I might hit the lock button on him as well. I don't think you absolutely have to, but the usage is going to be massive with him. So, again, I would want at least 3 Brooklyn guys in every lineup, and I'm fine up to even 4 or 5 of them. We saw it, I think 4. I don't know if it was 4 last night with Miami. We're in the optimal. Durant is priced up there, but again, he's got 60, 70 point upside any day. We got any more news here? I don't think any more news is hit. What other questions you guys have? Again, this is DraftKings. What I was looking at, just locking in a few players. Again, all these guys' usage is going to be up. If maybe you don't want to play, Durant, we got him at 60 fantasy points here on DraftKings. Ingram's at almost 50 because of no Zion. So, but I mean, there's possibility Ingram could hit 60. I worry about Ingram the most out of these guys, out of these 3 I was hitting the lock button on. The Clippers could very easily put Kawhi Leonard and just lock down Ingram, and then it opens up shots for Hart or, Alexander Walker. Ingram's going to have a ton of usage, but, if Kawhi Leonard locks him up, that's the one worry with Ingram that I'm not super excited about playing. Yeah, man, I don't mind locking Randall in 150 either. Like I said, if I'm playing, I like to play aggressive, so I have no problem hitting lock buttons on people. Getting Lillard too. Yeah, I would rather play, in that matchup against Sacramento and the Luke Walton's, clown show over there. I have no problem with Lillard. I wouldn't run Lillard and McCollum in the same lineup. So if you're doing the domination station, I would, make a rule where you're not having more than one of those guys. I'm thinking of locking 5, but that's sketchy. It is sketchy, but I think if there's enough value, I think you can lock 5 guys in. I tend to lock maybe 4 guys in. I don't like to get that crazy, but it's a possibility that you can go in there. Holiday, a safe play. I don't want to lock. It's hard to say safe because they could blow out Detroit. I don't like to play those guys when Giannis, I don't think it's a slate you play Holiday. You have Giannis there, Middleton, and then Holiday. Any of those guys can go off at any time, and you're basically playing Russian roulette. Who's going to smash here? You think if Bledsoe is out and there already no Zion, Lonzo, you think a blowout? Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. Like I said, Kawhi could lock down Ingram, and then they're just looking for scoring somewhere. So it's a possibility that the Pelicans just get smashed. But if they lock down Ingram, you're still going to have Alexander Walker's going to play regardless, and I think that's why he's a great play. If Bledsoe's out, he's a good play. If Bledsoe's in and you think that now if Bledsoe's in, I kind of like Bledsoe a ton because if Kawhi does lock down Ingram, then Bledsoe's going to get even more shots, and he's been getting a ton of run. So that's something to think about. But if Bledsoe's out, man, Alexander Walker is going to get a ton of run. Same with Hart. Those are the 2 guys I'd rather go on. If you were scared of some of the value maybe on Brooklyn, or you want to mix some of that value, like we saw that one lineup that had Alexander Walker in there with 3 of the studs, that's a great way to go as well. So have to take that in consideration. Again, Ingram can get it going, but man, if Kawhi Leonard shuts him down, he's not going to get there. But the usage is going to be 35-40% with no Zion Williams, no Lonzo Ball. And if no Bledsoe, we saw massive games out of him. He's going to take every damn shot that's out there. But yeah, Bledsoe plays on FanDuel. You throw him in about everything. It's just that game doesn't start until later, and you're not going to know. So if you're building one lineup, have a backup plan how to get off of him. Like I said, you just go down to Alexander Walker if you don't have a 2v2 and you just have a 1v1. So that's something to think about. What other questions you guys have? DraftKings, FanDuel, I'm here to answer any questions on this slate. Again, I think it's mostly, I'm going to eat some of this Brooklyn chalk. They're not going to scare me away. Like I said, in cash games, I'm 4, probably on both sites. So he's talking about locking in Randall, Durant, Chiozza, Harris, and Jordan. I have no problem with those 5. If those are the 5 you want to pick, no problem there. Chiozza is probably the one I wouldn't lock button in, but those are the guys that I would look at. Yeah, LaMelo Ball. No problem with LaMelo Ball. We've seen some big games out of him. I talked about him on the early podcast this morning. Not starting, but getting good minutes in the, right around 30, 31 minutes. It's up against Dallas, but he's doing a little bit of everything. So I don't mind throwing him in there at all. No problem there. Yeah, no, I don't mind that. Lock 4 and then put Joe's at 70%. That's fine. But he would be the one guy I don't think I would lock button in out of those 5 guys. General question for new player here. When you're messing with your exposures min-max, do you have general guidelines when adjusting for MMEs? If you're part of DFS Army, I actually have some videos that I've done to explain this. So if you're in there, hit me up in the chat and I will drop those links in there after I do this video for you. Legendary proportions. Just hit me up in Slack and I will drop those for you. And I kind of show you how I go through and do it for MME because I don't do it for all of them. But I do have something for you on that. But again, to me, this is when, we saw it yesterday with Miami. We had, guys that were going to be chalk were only like 30-40% owned, and that was on a smaller slate. So on this slate, we're still not going to have, these guys won't be owned enough as they should. So I'll get very heavy on them. Junior 21 Racer, Cat Love, GPP, and Jeremy Grant. Not on this slate. They're fully healthy. I don't really want anything to do with it. I mean, Cat can always get there, but hadn't shown it for me. Don't like it. Jeremy Grant's a little interesting. He's priced up. I don't think I'm going to get there, but you could talk me into him. Royal says Randall, Jordan, Ball, KD, CJ, PG-13. No problem there, man. Yeah, Friedman, if you could take care of him, that's awesome. Yeah, if you can hit him up, I'd appreciate that. Thinking about doing LaMelo kind of high out over on DK. Yeah, man, like I said, LaMelo, he's put up 40 fantasy points. I think he's towards the ceiling, but nothing I hate, so I don't mind that. But I'm going to come back here and see one more time where the values, like I said, over on DraftKings, little fantasy points. Again, so we're showing, Jordan, again, Alexander Walker, Roby. Roby, again, I think it's a fine play, but if AD is out, I love him, love him a ton. So let me look at news real quick, see if anything is going to hit. I don't see anything yet. Again, Bruce Brown would be the one guy that I would be nervous about playing. I will have some, but, it just makes me a little bit nervous. But, we've seen spots when he was with Detroit that he can get up shots. But, if Joe Harris, gets in that starting lineup and it's Joe Harris and Durant, I really worry about him. So we'll have to see it. Yeah, I knew Porzingis minutes were going to be limited. I mentioned that, and if you're over at DFS Army, we got a fade section over there. You can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, I don't want any Porzingis regardless. Not first game back. We figured that was probably going to happen. Who would you lock for single entry tourney? Same thing. I'm going Durant and DeAndre Jordan. Those are the guys that I would be heaviest on. What percentage for Bruce in? Yeah, I think I would just be around the field. We have around 30%. I would be around that 25, 30%. It was somebody I wouldn't go crazy on. I wouldn't do a full fade. When you get guys at 3,300, it's not a full fade. Yeah, if you want to find floors in the DFS Army, if you go to a research station, you'll see floor ceilings in there. Ellingson, so give that a check out in the research station. You'll see floors and ceilings is there. Wegner, there's my boy, man. Working on that pivot tool. Joval love. I don't love Joval, man. There's too many good centers on the slate for me to get on Joval. No, thank you. I just can't do it. Since John Morant's been out, he just doesn't have that ceiling anymore for whatever reason. So, and the minutes aren't there. So no, thank you. I don't want any part of that. Can I go over the later games again? Yeah. So the later games for me, we don't know what's going on. Like I said, if Bledsoe is out, Alexander Walker, and Josh Hart, I want about as much as them as I can get, kind of like the Brooklyn guys. And then for the Portland side, if Nurkic is out, I want a ton of Cantor. And then again, Holmes is going to be even a better play because Cantor doesn't play any damn defense. And so both those centers are great plays. So maybe I don't want to hit the lock button if I'm doing 150 on FanDuel, and I want to put 70% Jordan, and then I want to save a little bit for some Cantor and some Holmes because they both have 40-point upside as well. So yeah, exactly. Chiozza shoots like he has something to prove. Yeah, the guy's super aggressive, man. If you watched him last year in the bubble, when the guy plays, the dude plays super hard. And so he can put up stats. He's a hustle guy. That's why I love him. Brown at times, if he starts next to those guys now Durant, he's just going to get, he's not going to get the shots like he would on the second unit like Chiozza would. So that's kind of how I'm looking there. But I think that's about it, man. I'm going to keep updating these things. I need to update the cheat sheet again. Head on over to DFS Army if you're not a member. Sign up using promo code CashKeg. I'm going to update the rankings. I'm going to update the core plays, and we'll answer those questions. And again, I think Friedman, he's going to help you out, Legendary Proportions, with those videos I did earlier. And if you need any help, we'll definitely be in there and help you, man. Appreciate you guys. And I love each and every one of you guys, man. And I will see you on the flip side. Deuces.